Alright guys, we're back with a different project today. We moved from working on golf carts and vehicles to building privacy fences. Right here behind me I've got enough material to do a 300 foot by 6 foot tall privacy fence, so stay tuned to see how it turns out. I've already got a hole dug here with a post sitting in it, but I'll show you what I've done to get started. First thing I done was took and drove a stake down here in the corner, and I measured from here over to the wall, and then I took the other end of it, I don't know, about 50 foot down there, stuck it in the ground way back there. But just to make sure I'm running square or parallel with the house, when I measured that string out back there, well, I went to the other end and I had my wife measure here over to the string and keep that measurement the same. So when I drove the stake in on the opposite end, I had her tell me if I need to go towards the house or away from the house until this made the same measurement. And I'll show you. So I got 5 inches here, and I've got 5 inches here, so we're running parallel with the house. So once I got the string line there, I measured my first hole over at 9 inches to the center, and then I'd come down here to the other end, come down here to this end, and set my hole 9 inches from the string to the center. And I also went 46 to center from here to that other hole. So from back here we're running up there and we're keeping a straight line with the house. Once I cement the posts in the ground and get them all nice and plumb, I'm gonna move my string line over, that way I can get my line post. Not really supposed to be wet, it's supposed to be kind of a dry mixture. The more water you add to it, the less strength it has.
Oh, okay.
You can get it too wet. Well, you can have it too dry too. That sounds about right though, once it gets mixed in. Alright guys, so what I'm doing is I'm just taking this old shovel handle here and just kind of packing that concrete down in there, working the air bubbles out of it, and make sure you keep your posts nice and plumb. And also I forgot, but I was going to check it off the string line, make sure we're running perpendicular here. Like 9 3/4 and 9 3/4, so that's pretty good. So I got this one set off that string line 9 3/4 to that flange on both sides. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down there to the other end and mix concrete and get that one set, and I'll measure it the same, 9 3/4 off that string, that way we keep a nice straight line.
Probably get criticized for not helping.
Oh, you're helping the camera.
Yeah, that's about the only one I'm
I
doing.
can't do both at the same time. Alright guys, so I'll do the same thing with that one over there. I just started putting concrete in here to hold it up, and I'm gonna come off my string line right here and measure, make sure I'm in line with it. 9 3/4 on that side and 9 3/4 on that side. Got her plumbed up. Got it plumbed up, so now we're just gonna let them two posts sit overnight until tomorrow, and come back and move that string line over and get the line post in. But I think we're done for today. It's getting hot. It's already mid part of the day. We'll be back on it tomorrow. We made it into the next day. These posts have had plenty of time to set up. They're pretty solid. I think the concrete's good, but I moved my string line over to the side of the post. Now I'm just gonna measure out for my line post. It's got a little construction calculator here. I know I'm 46 feet on the fence. Now I just hit fence post on centers. This gives me 7 posts, which should be 6 sections. This thing, it only has built-in. I can't figure out how to get it to. It tells me 8 foot on centers, but I know that's not right. So I'm gonna clear that and do 46 feet, 0 inches, divide by 7 posts. That'll give me 6 sections, so that'll give me 7'8" on my center. So I'm going to pull my tape measure through here and mark them all out, 7'8" center to center. Yeah, 7'8" right here. So there's 1, 2, 7. Now I got them marked. I'm going to remove my string line. That way I can dig them out.
You get your handy dandy root stick. What is it called? A good one bar?
Digging.
Oh, digging bar.
Alright guys, I've been out here maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. This first hole I started drilling, I run into a big tree root, so I'm going to have to get in there and cut that tree root out to get this one in here. Alright, the second hole, I was trying to drill too close to this concrete here and it kept knocking it over, so I had to. This hole is a little oversized, and then the one back here in the back, I don't know what happened there. Every time I try to start that auger in the ground, it wanted to hop. So I ended up having to put my string line across the bottom to get these holes scooted back over. I should have just left that string line in the first place, but I didn't. Hole right here where where I've got it marked here. I think my water line comes pretty close to here, so I'm gonna have to hand dig that one. That way I'll make sure I miss my water line. And this one right here, this one's gonna be pretty close to my sewer. So I'm gonna hand dig it just to maybe avoid any contact with it, or that way I can keep from damaging it. Alright guys, I got these, finally got these holes dug here. It only took, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, but we dug on them until we got hot, and then we jumped in the pool and cool off. But there's a couple of them giving me problems here. Kept running into roots on this one here. This hole here was just plumb full of roots. You can see I chipped. I mean, it was like digging through a big block of wood. I finally got that one set. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I decided to, since the ground's not level right here, it's got a hump in it. But I just took a string line and run across the top of my corner post and give me a reference line to how deep to set these posts here. So I've got them all dug and ready for concrete now, but we're gonna wait till it cools off to do that. This one here, Ended up having to scoot it over. I sure I mentioned it. I thought my water line was run through here. Sure enough, that was almost dead center on top of the water line. So I scooted it over to miss the water line. So we're good on that one. And them two there's ready for concrete too. Alright guys, we got all these posts cemented in the ground. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish it was done this morning, but we run into issues digging through the tree roots and stuff like that, so, and it's hot, so I don't want to overdo it. But anyways, we got them all set into concrete now and got them all nice and plumb and top and pretty level, so overall I'm happy with it. So we'll let it set up overnight and we'll figure out a way to get a straight line down this backside over here. Alright guys, this is the next day. We kind of got a little bit late start on it, but we come out this earlier and got put my string line on my corner post, and I run it down here 142 foot, and then we're going to angle back across to an old shed back there. I don't know if I explained what I done earlier to get this line straight, or kind of close as I could to a true 90 here, but I took and measured out. I come down off of my old string line from my post. I come down 9 foot, then I had this string up high, you know, when I marked it out, up even with this one. Then I come out, so I measured 9 foot across here, and then I come out and measured 12 foot on this string. And then I kind of measured in between them, so you can go 9, 12, and 15. That'll give you a right angle triangle. So on the other end, on that stake down there, I just kept moving this string line in and out till I almost had measured 15 inches or 15 feet. Another thing I done is I pulled a tape measure off of this building down here. So when I moved that stake down there, I come up here and I measure off the south side of the building over to my string line, and then off the north side of the building to my string line. I kind of got that running kind of perpendicular to that building and kind of keeping to my 15-foot measurement up there to get the corner. We measured off that building over to the string line to kind of make sure it was running parallel, perpendicular, whatever you want to call it, be parallel on this side to the back of that building. Another thing I did to make sure I was kind of staying on my property line, over here on my off of the east end of my property there, about that tree line or that tree there, and come over here and measured over and make sure I was still on my property pretty much. But that's how I got this string line set up to where I thought it looked all right. I've got 142 foot of fence. So what I've done is I took that into my calculator here. So I've got 142 feet, and then I just hit fence post, and it'll tell me I need 19 posts, which that'll be 18 sections. So take and do my 142 feet and divide that by 18 sections, and it gives me like 7 foot, 10, and 11/16. So I'm probably just going to mark all these 7 foot, 11 inches all the way down through there. Come through here and mark all these at 7 foot, 11 inches. This ground's got quite a bit of a heel to it here. So to get that corner post and the string line close to the ground, I come back here to kind of to a high spot, put a stake in the ground that way and keep my string line close to the ground. Yeah, so I got through there and marked all my posts out. So we're going to come back with my 8-inch auger and just drill them out. Maybe they'll go a whole lot easier than them. Alright, I've been out here for a while now. I've only got 4 posts set. I thought I'd be able to just use my auger and auger these out, but I get down to sometimes a foot, sometimes 6 inches, and I hit hard packed clay and I can't get it to dig through that clay, so I'm having to resort to filling the holes up with water and just using my digging bar here. I've got it marked to my 2 foot mark, and I've just been filled up with water, then just hog it out with this bar, and then use my post hole diggers and dig them all out. So it's taking a while. Hand dig shouldn't be any roots through here. If it is, there'll be small roots. I'm not digging right up against a tree like I was on that other side. All right, as you can see behind me here, I've got all the posts dug and got them dropped in there. We just got to come back with concrete, but I figured out what I was doing wrong. Yesterday, I had an 8-inch bit on my auger. Well, this morning, I don't know why I didn't think about it yesterday, but I put a 6-inch auger on it this morning, and that thing, it run right through that clay. The only thing I had to do was widen the hole out with my post hole digger. It's a whole lot easier to widen the hole after it's dug than it is to dig it all by hand. So I've been out here an hour and a half and got 10 posts done. Yesterday I spent off and on all day hand digging 8 posts. So I switched that auger bit out and just plowed through them this morning. We got them all dropped in there. I guess I'll start mixing concrete and start standing them up. Okay, we're going to get back on it this morning. Yesterday, I didn't really record anything. We had a lot of tractor and brush hogs and stuff over here cleaning this lot out beside me, but so I didn't record yesterday, but I got out here and I set my... Alright, so yesterday morning I come out here and got my last 8 posts put in down over to that shed. I was going to move over to the back side, but there's too much of elevation difference from the corner of that slab to where my fence was going to be. It was like a 2 foot difference, so the ground was a lot flatter up here on the front side of it, so I just run my fence over into the front side of that building, kind of keeping it in line with the front of that slab right there. This slab is 8 foot deep by 10 foot wide this direction. I'm going to eventually come back and put a building, some type of little storage shed on here for, I don't know, maybe some of my lawn equipment or something like that, but for now I'm just going to run my rails across the slab, and then when I decide to put the building in there, I'll just come and cut my rails, or take the rails off of the post here and take this section down, build my building. But got it run all the way to the corner over there. You can kind of see I couldn't get right up against the slab. There's concrete footer there I had to miss on both sides, but that'll be fine. That'll give me more room to work after I cut the rails out to build that building, whenever that's going to be. Alright, so these posts are a Lifetime steel post. I ordered all this stuff through Lowe's. I like it because my rails are gonna sit in here and be flush, so my post is gonna be in line with the fence. One thing here that I'm gonna have to go around and do is the top of these, or here for my top rail. You just take a screw out right here, throw it on the ground, that way you gotta pick it up and stick that back in there, and I just lost it. Great. Alright, so once you take that screw out, this piece comes out, you just flip it around and stick it back in there. Alright, so I'm gonna go around and flip these over on every single post all the way back around, and that'll get us ready to start running rails, and then we can come back with pickets after we get our rails all done. I just set my top rail up there, butted up against the house. Now I'm gonna come over here to this post right here and just mark it center. Then I'm going to take my circular saw and cut it to that length. These are the screws that come, well, they didn't come with them, I had to order them separate, but these are the screws that they recommend going with to put the rails in. They're made by Lifetime also. Alright, so what I'm doing here is these posts have a flange on them, and then that top plate sticks up, so you just set your top rail in there and then come back and drive your screws through the top plate, and it's like that on all of the posts. And then the same thing on these other rails. They're going to come in on the front side, and then the screws are going to come in through the back side. So it's going to be a top rail, a middle rail, and a bottom rail. It'll be 3 rails total on this. Go ahead and run this top rail all the way to the corner, and then come back and figure out my spacing for my bottom 2 rails. We got the top rail done on that south end down there. We run out of shade, so we moved down here to this north end. We're gonna start we got the top rail already started. I thought it was recording, my battery died on me, but I was explaining, we set this, we started right here on this slab. The slab's, I don't know, 10 foot, so we're almost a 12-foot span here. So I put that top rail there to start with, and later I'm gonna come back and put a post right here in the middle and anchor it to that concrete. But that'll be after we already get it built. I can come in on the back side and just anchor something to the concrete. So I'm gonna set it back up on time lapse, and we're gonna continue getting this north end done through here. Alright, we made it all the way down to the corner down here. I'll show you on these posts how these corners match up. Alright, when you get to your corner post, this top rail on this style of post here, your top rail will run and be flush with the flange here, and then when you make your corner, your other one, you're going to stop it right here, and it leaves you room for a 2x2 to go down this post to fill in the gap behind your pickets. So we're going to start here and working our way back south until we run out of shade, or if it ain't too bad, we'll keep going. But if we get too hot, we'll just stop and come back out this evening. But I'm gonna turn the time lapse back on and start working our way back south. Alright, we made our corner here. I'll kind of show you what I was talking about earlier. The way you do your corners, this one runs into your flange and you flush it up, and then your one coming back down the other side, you just flush it up here, and I'll come back with a 2x2 right here and fill this corner in down here just to close this off, because your pickets will be out here, and here you want to close this gap. You drop a 2x2 in here and it'll come out flush. Alright, I'm going to show you something down here. This is my first time really building a fence, but I either need to learn how to read a tape measure or run a string line. I was trying to set these even with the ground, but I put an X on this because I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it's about 2 inches taller than the rest, so I'm gonna have to cut it down. I'll take my grinder and cut the top of it down, but I don't know if it'll pick it up or not. We'll be able to see it when we put a board on there. But I'm going to come back and take my angle grinder. I'll just come down with my angle grinder and cut that, and then just re-drill my hole for my screw for my top plate. I think it'll be alright. I got one here to cut down, and down there on the very end you can see we kind of already started this morning while I was in the shade. But I just got a board clamped up there because this corner down here was coming out the same. Let's see. Oh yeah, this post right here. I didn't put an X on it, but this one right here, I'll come around. I think we already marked it. So yeah, we're gonna cut almost 4 inches off of this one, and a lot of that's the ground. I was trying to keep them all 2 foot in the ground, but I guess there was a little bit of too much of a hump right there, and I don't like the angle that is. So to flatten it out, I'm gonna cut it down, make my top rail a little bit flatter. When I was setting in post, I should have come over to about this post right here and set it in the ground, and then done like I done the 2 end lines. I should have run a string line across the top of them, but this ground's got too many lows and highs. I should have known better than trying to set them off the ground. So I'm gonna have to come back and trim maybe 3 posts just to get the top rail to flow a little bit better. So next time I'm building a fence, I'll be sure to run a string line across the top. That way I can kind of eyeball my top rail, make sure it's going to be straight before they're cemented in the ground. It's a whole lot easier to change them when you're setting them than it is to do it after they're concreted in the ground. It's kind of hard to move concrete. Anyways, I'll take you back down there and we're going to get that corner figured out. Alright, so we're running uphill quite a bit right there. So I just took and put my picket up there about how high I wanted it off run it off the ground compared to the rest of the post, and you just put me a mark across there. So what I plan on doing is took and measured that. We're going to take 2 inches off of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there and get my angle grinder and cut the top of this post off 2 inches there. So I'm going to go in there and grab my angle grinder, and I'm going to come back out here and just cut that off, and then I'll measure how far down to put my hole for my top plate. I'm going to take my top plate off, cut it, drill a hole, and put my top plate back on there. You can see how much we was having to pull that down right there. If I take that 2 inches off down there, it should sit flat here, and I won't have to pull it. Put my screw back inside here, that way I don't lose it. So, just gonna finish marking that out. I'm gonna get a mark all the way around it, that way I can cut it, make sure I cut it pretty straight. Okay, I got that marked all the way around the post. Go in there and grab my angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, and I'll come back out and just zip that off. I'll probably just only show this process on this post here, but I probably have, I know for sure one down there on the very end, but I may trim, there may be 2 more, so I'm gonna maybe trim 3 total, just depending on what it looks like when we get down there. Go in, grab my angle grinder, and I'll be back. Alright guys, I'm sure that's not the right way to do that. I may come back with some paint and kind of paint the top of that. These are galvanized, so I'm sure it's not the best thing. But I cut it the best I could. I kind of got off on one side. But I'm gonna take and drill my hole. Take and set that back up there and drill my hole for my top plate to go back on. With any luck, my top could line back up. Okay. Now let's see what we look like after we got it. You want to sit it on your head?
Sure.
Alright, we're going to set this back up here and see if we done any good. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Alright. I think that looks a lot better, guys. Now I can just mark this and we're going to cut it. Cut that off, and then we're going to keep going until we run into another issue. Alright, we got all the top rail put on. We took a break. And it's later in the evening now. It's starting to cool off a little bit. But we took some time earlier, and I just took my tape measure and come through here and measured all my rails that go in between my posts. So started on this end and just went all the way around, all the way to the back side there, and just wrote the measurements down. So I'm fixing to set up a station here, and I'm going to start checking off measurements here. Alright, so we got all them rails cut to go on this south side. I'm going to go ahead and attach this side before I cut the others. But earlier today, I went in there and cut this piece of scrap wood, put some measurements at 30 inches from either end. And then I just took and laid it in the post. I come through there with a marker and just marked. I've done that on all the posts all the way around. That way we can just pick them up, line them up, and put screws in them.
I did it all, I played pretend, I moved the mountains to be your friend. I want to know if it mattered. I would have gone to war for you, I would have bent the earth in two just to get to our ever after. Something about this has changed. I wanna feel you close again. Don't let go. No, I don't want this to end. Whoa. Remember the start when you're breaking my heart again. Like blood on a pen.
Alright, so I got this whole south end picketed all the way up to the house. Well, I got a little section up there by the house that's about 2 foot, but I got to go get some screws to anchor the rails into the brick. I don't have any screws for that, but here on this corner, I was going to bring you in here and show you how I done that. So when our rails come in here, we flushed them up with that flange, and it left a hollow space here, the thickness of that post. Well, I just went in there on the table saw and ripped these down to 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, put them in there, and screwed them in from the back side here. Run my screws in from the back. That way, when I put my picket on the front, I got a spot to drive my nails into instead of it being a hollow spot. So when I get that side done, you just come back here and your pickets will cover that up, so it'll be a nice clean corner when it's all said and done.
Would it matter then? Would it matter then?
Alright, we started down there on the south and worked our way back to the north end here. We're getting down to the last few sets of pickets, so I temporarily tacked one into place right there just to make sure I'm running pretty plumb. So I'm 24 and a quarter here and 24 and a quarter down here. So I'm going to take that 24 and a quarter inches and I'm going to divide that by 5 to give me 4 7/8. So I'm going to take 5 pickets in there and rip them down to 4 7/8. That way I come out even with my corner here. Alright, while we're down here on this corner, you can see I just ripped down a piece of wood 1.5 by 1.5 to form my corner. That way it gives me a place to nail my pickets. I get a place to nail my picket down this corner and a place to nail it on this corner here, because my rails are got a gap here if you don't put that in there. So you gotta rip a piece of treated lumber down to 1.5 inches, put it in there, and it gives you a place to nail your pickets to. Alright, we're going to see if this works. I went in there and took 5 pickets and ripped them down to that 4 7/8. Let's find out if the math is right. Alright, I think that's going to work, so I'm going to finish nailing them off and we'll be finished with this whole long side. Then we'll come and get this north end short side here. It's got them nailed up. I think they look pretty good. They are just a little bit proud of the corner, but they're not bad. I think they'll work. The reason I ripped them down is because I wanted to be as little change as possible here. So I ripped them down to 4 7/8, or normally 5.5. If I would have kept going with 5.5, I would have had like 1.5 inches down here. So I spaced them out to where they were even to a certain point, then go back up to the full width. It just looks better than having to put a little bitty strip down here.
Would it matter then? Another time around the block.
Alright guys, we're down to the last little bit here. I've got this little, I don't know, about 2.5 foot section here, but to get my rails attached to the house, went in there and ripped one of them 2x4s down to about 2 inches. That way I can anchor it. I'm going to take some concrete screws and drill into that brick. Drill into the brick to give me something to anchor these to. Alright, so we're just using some 1/4 inch tap cons to put that in there. got this anchored to the wall here, so now I'm just going to measure for my 2 rails. Ride them down on this piece of wood here. Alright, so it's running pretty plumb, both of them. I think 2/36 and 3/8. So I'm going to go get them cut and I'll come back and screw that in, and then we'll finish our pickets. We'll be done with the fence then. I went in there and got my boards cut down. Now we're going to see if we can get them put in there. Maybe they'll fit. On this bottom, when I cut this board short because I didn't want it touching the ground, so we'll flush it up at the bottom of our 2x2 here. So, alright, we're nice and plumb still. To see how many pickets I need right here, I'm going to measure that rail. I got 41, so I'm just going to take 41 and divide by 5.5. Shows I need 7.5 pickets, so I'm going to take that same measurement. Let's clear that. Go 41 inches, and then we're going to divide that by 8, which gives me 5 1/8. So I'm going to rip 8 pickets down to 5 1/8, and I'll come back out here and nail them up there. Alright guys, I got them boards ripped down. Now we're going to start putting them on there. Alright, I'm going to carry these other boards inside and trim them, that way I can keep the top running flat. Alright guys, the corner of that brick is holding it a little bit, so I just took my multi-tool and trimmed it off. But that was the last picket there, so we're done with it now. That's all I'm going to do now, is I'm going to leave it dog-eared, but I've got it set up to where maybe during the fall or winter time, when it starts cooling down and you get outside and work all day, I'm going to come back through here and cut all these dog ears off and put a cap on it with trim on it. I think it'll look a lot better. I don't mind the dog ears right now, but eventually I want it to be framed out. I think they look better that way. But like I said, we're done with it here. I'll probably pick the camera up and do a final walk around, but I still need to come do a final inspection, make sure I didn't miss any nails or screws, but I'll do all that off camera. But that was the last touch. That was the finishing touch right there, that little 3-foot section. I'm glad it's done. Alright, here's the finished product. This is the end right here where I left off in the video. So we're going to start here and work our way around to the back side. So this is the south end here. You can see where I connected it to the house there. We kind of come down here to this old, this is an old decorative fence right here. The ground, there's a, that fence is in cement there, so there's a little hump in the ground there. So I just run my pickets even with the ground, So you're gonna see some high and low spots, but that's just the way I laid them out according to the ground. Come around this and we'll work our way to the other side. I think it turned out pretty good. I mentioned in some of the videos, I think maybe towards the end of it, I'm not sure, but eventually I want to come through here and knock all the dog ears off of it and put a cap with a trim around it. I'll pin a picture of what I think I want to do. You can see right here is another little high spot in the ground, so I just kind of stagger the pickets and make them go up, kind of a transition up and over that hump there and back down. But yeah, let me know in the comments section, do y'all like the dog-eared look, or do y'all like the ones that's got the cap on them? I kind of like the ones that's got the dog ears cut off and it's got like a 2x6 on the top, and then it's got a 1x4 trim or right underneath it. I think those look a lot better, but I don't know. We may leave dog ears, we may go the other route. Just let me know what y'all think looks best in the comments. Now here's the north end here, this back corner. My screen keeps going off. I keep turning it back on. So here we kind of keep a smooth transition up until we hit the concrete slab. I didn't do anything special on the concrete slab. I just laid a picket. I just got a picket and laid up there on the concrete, and then I just run them off of it. So we just kind of made a sharp transition there, and then just leveled out across the slab. But I'm sure I know I mentioned in the video, but I eventually want to come back and turn this into a storage building for some of my lawn equipment. So that section of pickets right there will come out when I build that building, so I ain't too worried about that. This section right here, it had some real low spots in it, so I run my rail straight, but I dropped them pickets down. You can kind of see right here at the top of them. I kind of dropped them down maybe an inch to an inch and a half in spots, because that'll get covered up when I come back and put my cap on it right here, and then put my 1x4 band here. There'll be 3.5 inches covered up here, so all that'll blend in. But I wanted to keep it as close to the ground as I could right here, so I just done that, knowing later when I cap it, all that stuff it'll be covered up and never seen. It'll look good. And here's where we butted up to our existing shed here. I don't know if the camera will turn this way. The sun's kind of starting to set over there, so you might be messing with the camera. Alright, I'll take you around to the inside and show you that side also. Alright, here's the inside of the fence where we butted up against the old shed. I just cut a couple of pieces of 2x4 to fit in between there, and just screwed them in, then nailed the pickets to it on the outside. And then again right here where the section down here, right here, them pickets start coming up where I run them even with that slab right there. So once I decide to build that building, all of them will come out, and I'll put the building there, and that section will come down, so that'll take care of that. And then we come down here to the corner, and then we make our way back to the north, or to the south, sorry. Pickets, you can already see how much them things have started drying out when I put them in there. It's been 2 days since I've hung the pickets up, so they're starting to dry out now, and they're starting to get a gap between them. But I mean, that's what you get when you're working with treated lumber. The only way to get rid of that's if you do a board on board, and I think you end up costing you about 2/3 more or something like that. Not quite twice as much, but I think it's about 2/3 more because you use more pickets. And you can see on the top rail right there where I run them even with the ground, just to kind of keep a gap along the bottom of it. That way I can run my string trimmer around it without damaging it too much. Like I said, I know it's gonna make my fence shorter when I do it, but I'm gonna come back and cut them dog ears off, or I plan on it anyways. We may leave it like it is. I sure do like the looks of them the other way though, so I set the rails up for that. It won't take nothing to come through here with a skill saw or circular saw and cut all those off and then just cap it and trim it. I think it looks more finished in my opinion, but you see dog ears all over the place, and you don't see too many of the capped and trimmed fences around here anyways. And then we come back to where we started up here, where I left off in the video of attaching it to the house. You can see my 2x2, or my 2x2, or actually it's 1.5 inches. I just took a 2x4 and ripped it down 2 inches, and then screwed my rails to it and give me something to attach my pickets to. So that's it. Alright, that was the finished product there. What do you think? Comment down below if y'all like the dog ears, or if you like the ones that are capped and trimmed. I personally prefer them cut off, a flat top with a band running around the outside of them. They look more finished to me. Like I said, you see dog ears all over the place around here. I don't know, I prefer the other look. Anyways, thanks for watching. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below, and hit the little notification. That way you get notified when I upload videos if you're liking the content. Thanks for watching.